Commissioners for June 1st, 2023 is called to order. This meeting is being recorded. Is there anyone in attendance who is also recording the meeting? May I have a roll call?
Sharon Katina here.
Melissa Hoover here.
Rose Turner here.
Roberta Briggs here. Please rise if you're able for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before opening the public comment, I would like to read the public comments policy. It is in the intent of the public comments to allow any citizen an opportunity to bring forward items of concern or questions to the board's attention. In an effort to provide fair access to all citizens and allow the board time to conduct the business of the Auburn Housing Authority in an orderly manner, public comments shall be scheduled as follows. Following the call to order, there shall be a public comments item. 1. The total time allotted for public comments in this section may not exceed 30 minutes. A majority vote of the board may extend this period. 2. An individual's time shall not exceed 5 minutes. A majority vote by the board may extend this period. Prior to adjournment, there will be a second opportunity for public comments. This session will be scheduled as follows. 1. The total time allotted for this session shall not exceed 20 minutes. A majority vote by the board may extend this period. 2. Any individual's time in this session shall not exceed 3 minutes. A majority vote by the board may extend this period. Any individual item requiring more time shall be scheduled as an agenda item for the next board meeting. And this policy was adopted by the Board of Commissioners on August 12, 2013. And I'd like to remind you that all residents receive these regulations when they sign on to live in the housing authority, and they will be signing, they have to sign that they have received these. And they're to keep them all the time that they're here. If we change the policies, they will receive the changes. Because we review these policies. No, it's semi-annual, I think.
Well, we were doing better
Right,
until COVID hit,
yes.
and then
Now, we will accept any public comment. Is there anybody here that wants to comment on the public? Okay. A discussion and vote to inform the select board of a vacancy on the board. And Monica has resigned from the board. So that means that we need a motion to inform the select board of a vacancy on the board. May I have a vote? I'll make that motion. And second. Second. All in favor?
aye.
Your name will be signed for aye.
Sharon Katina.
Rose Turner? Aye. Roberta Briggs? Aye. Before we vote, I will open up the discussion on this matter. Is there any discussion on this from the board members? We do the roll call vote. Executive Director's report.
Okay, so for vacancies, as of today, we have 2 in the federal Stoneville property. They're both second floors, and they're both have been moved to the first floor. So the second floor became available, which will be filled by veterans, and then if they can do a second floor. If not, then we will have to go to the regular.
This is here at Stone.
This is good.
Thank you.
Now, we have 1 vacancy in the back of Packet Shop, which is federal. It's a handicap unit, and that will be filled by a transfer who actually needs handicap accessibility, and that's also a veteran. So that's who's going in there, and that'll free up a first floor unit that will go to a veteran if we have them available, which we should because it's a first floor. Then as far as the state section of Packet Shop, we have 1 unit available. It's a second floor. The resident that was in there needed a first floor, so they went to the first floor. Now that apartment is available, and that's gonna go, come off the champ list, but we need a non-elderly person in order to fill our placement rate. We're down by 1, so that's gonna come off the champ list. That person's already been identified. Okay? We're required to have 8 non-elderly people in the state section of Packet Shop. That's required. And we only have 7 because one of our residents in March turned 61, and she's too old now, we can't count her. So we do have one identified to go into that second floor unit when it becomes available, okay? We don't have any vacancies in our family units at all. So that's where we are at with vacancies. Okay? We will be having the heat pumps cleaned, AC heat pumps cleaned out here professionally. It was supposed to be scheduled for this week, but I think it got pushed off to the week of the 6th. So we are having a vendor come in to clean the heat pumps so that we won't have any issues. Any repairs, they test them and make sure they're operating properly. So that's one thing we have scheduled. As far as the sidewalk out front, it's crumbling, so we have identified somebody to come in to repair that. We're just waiting for them to come. Okay, as far as these books that are in front of you, if you look, Wendy had requested, which I wanted to make sure that everybody gets everything and that we start fresh. Because we had started to do the policies, but now we're waiting for another board member. So, and Wendy's new, so I think it makes sense to just start from the get-go and actually understand what these policies mean. You know, take the time to go through them, see if they make sense. All the board members have a copy of them. And any changes, then we can make them as we go along. So, policies are in the front. Then if you flip to the next tab, it gives you the pet policy. And then you flip to the next tab, it gives you the leases, state and federal leases. Okay? And then if you flip, okay? See, the state leases are different because they're computer generated when we do the research or when I calculate their new rent. So it's actually computer generated, so it may look different to you when
and hasn't the state name change from years and recently, yesterday.
we got the memo, but I haven't made the adjustment yet.
Okay.
So that's something that we will correct as we go along, because I can't even remember what it's called. Now,
Thank you so much.
and then after that, you've got the rules and regulations, so anything that the board expects the residents to follow should be voted on by the board and put in the book, and that way you have the references. Somebody asks you a question, well, this is what we have so far. We have quite a few policies that it's been a while since we reviewed, and most of the policies were created from instances that happened here or at another housing authority, or that the state or federal government advised us to correct. So they may not be current, but they were all put in the book for a reason. But some of them may be redundant, you know what I mean? So we'll just go through and clean it up once and for all. And then everybody's on the same page as far as what the policies are and what the liability for the housing authority is, because all, that was the consideration for these policies, for most of them. Where are we, let's say, you want a bunch of things in the ground, well, if they're gonna put it in the path of where somebody's gonna trip over it, might not be a good idea, because our goal is not to, we need to provide a safe environment. So going forward, I think if it's up to the board, we've got these policies, we should just review them, make sure everybody's on the same page and actually understand what these policies mean.
Can I ask you a question? Have you ever had a subcommittee that did that before?
There's a policy.
There's a subcommittee policy?
There's a subcommittee policy.
Okay,
We just need to find out as far as the open meeting law, depending on how many people participate in subcommittee policy,
great.
does it have to be, is it an open meeting? Is it a televised meeting? How is that going to play
Does it
out?
have to only be people that are on board? I mean,
I don't know what the policy is actually in the book,
okay, I'll read through that, and if I have any questions, I'll let you.
but it's ultimately the board's responsibility to vote on whether they want to accept what the subcommittee recommends. So whatever it says in there, we're going to review it, because with the open meeting law and what gets televised, what doesn't get televised, but we're going to need working groups to work on these things, because there's just too many. Like, there's too many. We've got to make sure they're legal, because that's the other thing. What we think may be fine, but if it's not legal, then we're not going to do it.
We have had a policy book for many years, and the residents have received those policies. That's not all of them.
That's not a question. I wanted it for my own edification.
No. And every board member, when they come on the board, they get the policy.
Yeah. It's a good policy.
Yes. How are you going to know what the policies are if you don't? So this book is finished. The next book you're going to get at the next meeting is going to be the accounting book. So you'll get the state budget guidelines, you'll get the budget, which did get approved, which it looks like we're going to have to revise the budget because we've had more expenses on the state side than we were anticipating. We're having a problem with the whites clogging the drains in the front of the AV. We just paid a contractor to clean all the drains in the front up to the line, and we had a problem earlier in the week with a backup again. So they came in and they cleared, they could find no evidence of anything that would cause a backup, but there was, when maintenance responded, there was water on the floor, so we're contacting the plumber to come out to see if he can identify a problem as to why this is happening. So it's costing additional money that we didn't anticipate by doing the cleanups, but we need to avoid the backups. So just what it is. So the accountant, if he sees that we're running over, he'll give us notification in time as to what to do if we need to revise it. We've had to do that. It's unexpected expenses.
So, like it anymore.
You know?
Sure.
The problems from time to time.
So, that's pretty much it. As far as, I'm concerned, now, did you get a notification about board member training online from anybody?
Where did that have come from, do you know?
It would be UMass. Some Catherine Swain,
I have not.
because she had kicked it back to me, because I've got to put the housing authority that I was from, so I sent it back to her. So she does know that you need that information. And Evelyn at DHC also knows, so that once I turn in the board attendance for this meeting, Evelyn will get your contact information.
Okay. So that's Catherine Swain at UMMHC that I should be looking for an
Yep.
email from? Okay. I'll keep
And
an eye
that's,
out for that.
she's gonna give
Check
you the
spam
link.
and stuff, too.
She's
Okay,
gonna give you the link.
perfect.
I know she kicked it back to me, but I'm gonna have to put whatever new board member is, and Roberta, you have to do it every 2 years.
Right.
Now Rosie and Sharon have just completed it, so they don't have to do it. So whoever fills that seat, and Roberta has to do it because it's been more than 2 years. And you have to do it within 90 days. But the clock doesn't start till you actually get the,
Get me information. Sure.
and when they say that, you know, you need board training, this is the training that they're talking about,
Mhm.
okay?
Thank you.
And it's pretty self-explanatory. I took it myself, just so I know what's required. Okay? Things fine? That's it for right now. So next board meeting, you'll get the budget guidelines, you'll get, and whatever else we can get together in a reasonable amount of time. We did send out notification to the residents about recertification for Stoneville Heights. They have to have everything in by the end of the month. The rent has to be certified, recertified by August 1st. They have to be notified at least 2 weeks prior to a new rent. There's regulations that we have to follow in order to do that. So that's going to be a separate book that you're going to get, because you're going to see exactly what we're asking for, the letter that we send out to them, what they expect us to sign, them to sign off on. Like, they give us their originals. We photocopy the originals, give them the originals back, and we keep the copies. But we have them sign that they did in fact receive their originals back, because that covers us, because we gave them back to you. We have your signature right here, that you signed that you got them back. So that's it. We have the copies, what you do with the originals. If you need us to copy the copies, we can do that. But that's gonna happen soon. People are gonna start bringing the recertifications in. So that's something, we have 60 that we're gonna have to recertify out here. Okay.
And 60 is from both locations? That's here?
One thing I started to do, as I'm thinking of the things, explain what the federal program is, how many apartments are in federal, where they're located, how many handicap units, as I go along, so that everybody knows this is what we have for housing. We have federal, we have state, we have separate budgets for both. We have separate bank accounts for both. So that'll be part of the accounting book, is what we have for insurance policies, what we have for bank accounts, because all the board members are required 2 signatures. It's usually, I'm one of them, and the treasurer. But all board members are signers. So in other words, if the treasurer can't come in, or somebody, we need to call somebody else to come in, you have the ability to go to the bank, because they'll have a signature card with the signature. Like, you remember we did that. So that's another whole thing that will change with our new board member coming online. But No money ever comes out of any of our bank accounts. We do not do any electronic transfers from our office. Everything is done by the bank tellers or whatever they call service people. So
So
they're,
everything is wired?
everything is, no, the checks come in for the rent.
They go to the lockbox of the bank?
No.
They come here,
They come here, they get processed.
you give them to the bank.
I bring them physically to the bank so that it's the bank representative that's taking the checks in, reviewing the deposit slip to make sure they match, and then giving me a receipt, which gets stapled to a book with all the deposits, and we keep copies of all people's checks. Do you know what I mean? So if there's ever an issue as to what they gave us, we have a copy of the check, we have any cash, photocopying the dollar bills, anything we receive in here is copied and put in a book. And then it goes to the accountant once a month. We're always a month behind with the accountant. But we have copies of everything that we've received. Okay? And the state and the federal developments are completely separate bank accounts. But the board gets copies of all bank account numbers, and it, you know what I mean, an explanation as to, just so that if in the event that you were required to go to the bank for some reason, or you wanted to go to the bank for some reason, you have the right to do that. Okay? So that'll go in the accounting budget book. Okay? All right?
Sure. Thank you.
We're gonna have books for everything. And that way, if we know something's coming on the agenda, you just bring the book so that you'll know what to refer to.
Saves a lot of time, a lot of questions. Okay.
And we need more, and then if anybody asks about recertification, there's a schedule as to when we do it, how we're going about it, what we've done in the past that didn't work, and why we do things going forward. We make reasonable accommodations for people if they have trouble getting here, because it's not always easy for us to go up, because we're gonna, with the families, there's no place for us to go. They have to come
You don't have a community, you don't see us. It's the-
here. There, you know what I mean? So
With the elderly, what about the community more than back in our village, especially for people that are 85?
we make accommodations for those people, because
Can you expound on that? What kind of accommodation?
whether we either have it delivered to them, or a family member will come and get the paperwork, so they know everything that they need to sign is all given to them in a packet. And it goes, either, I mean, maintenance has delivered it at some point, family members have come and picked up the stuff.
And do most of these people have a family member or an advocate that will work with them?
It's very
We
few.
have-
It's,
What about those individuals that don't have anybody they can rely on, you know, like there are those?
and we've had Albany go to work with
So
them.
someone will go and assist them. Great.
Because it doesn't make sense for us to sit there, because then if they don't show up, we're sitting up there. If we need to photocopy something, we don't have a copy machine up there. So, you know what I mean? So we made accommodations. I like having people come here because it may be the only time we actually have eyes on somebody. You know, and then we can see, well, okay, we've noticed that they're not doing as well this year as they did the last time we saw them. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of these people are housebound.
That's what I mean.
And
about
don't go.
Being able to get up here to research.
There's a bus. Some people
I
come
was
on.
gonna say, does it coordinate with the senior center transportation program?
Yep, the little RTA bus comes and
I know, I love that.
drops them off. Oh, yeah, they're very good to us.
14 years. So,
They're very good to us. You know, there are quite a few residents that take advantage of that.
yeah, it's the interaction was good.
And we have drop boxes at both community rooms up there. We have one out here. So that if anybody wants to drop their paperwork off in the drop box, or have a family member drop it off, a lot of times a neighbor will come and take 4 or 5 packets of research and drop them in the box. They work together.
Can you tell me what happens if you don't receive paperwork in a timely manner from, who's going to follow?
Well, we
What time does
call,
that happen?
then if it's very,
Because of the deadline.
it's very,
August 1st, did you say August 1st? I don't know.
August 1st, they have to be uploaded in the system. So it really, because they didn't give us the stuff, or they're waiting for whatever, they've had adequate notice to get the stuff. They usually call us and tell us, oh, they're waiting for, or they can't find the social security letter, so they've applied for another one, but they usually give us notice that they're having trouble getting it.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it is part of their responsibility to give us that information.
Sure. Then what happens? Somebody,
Well, and then they get a letter, and then we end up waiting.
so if the paperwork doesn't get, and you're hearing all kinds of problems and everything, and the deadline is not passed, what happens then?
We continue to wait. We can send them a letter that they're in violation of the lease, but some people, if they can't find the stuff, or if they're waiting for like CVS printouts of what the medical is, you know, if sometimes they don't give them the right dates, and we don't get the right, so there's always issues. And we just have to work with them.
Okay. So even though it has to be uploaded by August 1st, even if it falls past that date, there's still opportunity for people to, because they're still in their private credit, so there's still opportunity for them to get the information to you.
And they can always, if they get the information, they can put it in the Dropbox, just so that we know, you know, a lot of times this stuff comes in piecemeal. But it is their responsibility,
Sure.
and it is our responsibility to provide a reasonable accommodation for them so that they can comply. We have some people that just don't care. I mean, they've been doing this every year and they just don't care. And that's, you know, we have to deal with that too. Ian,
We will have a special meeting on June 8th, 2023 at 10 a.m. to address the results of today's vote regarding the vacancy on our board. And the next monthly meeting will be July 6th of 2023. No, we're not going to do it.
no, there's gonna be a meeting on June,
No, I said that. I just said
June
that.
15th. June 15th,
Oh,
for the state capital program.
okay.
And if I'm wrong about the date, I'll let you know at the June 8th meeting, or as soon as I figure it out. But we do have a hearing for the state capital plan that's been scheduled and posted. Not with the town yet, but it has been posted on the website. So,
So we have a meeting on the 8th, and then we have a meeting on the 15th. And then we
Both
have
of
one
those
on
are 10
July
a.m.?
6th. Yes. And I don't know if I said that this meeting is recorded, but it is. I wanted to make sure that you know that, okay? Do you have anything else for the end, comment from anyone on the board that has any comment? Or also on,
For the director, or is this a member items?
this is the member items,
I do. That's okay.
you know.
At the last meeting, we talked a little bit about the community room and the state certification, and as I understood it, your certification has lapsed. I did some research into the state certification in the community room. As long as people are bringing in food that is cooked, shawls or cookies, cupcakes, things like that, that are being prepared by Charles Big Y, fresh copper, whatever, that does not fall under the ServSafe certification. And I also checked with the Downing Coil, World Health, and the ServSafe license only applies to retail food establishments. It is not a retail food establishment. If you're not having to get together when you're making a group purchase to get your meatballs for all of the tenants, that would fall under ServSafe certification. So I would love to see the policy expanded to say that only items that were made by, certified preparers, like I said, supermarkets, bakeries, things like that, be allowed in the community room. And that the community room be opened back up so that people can have their grandchildren over for a slice of cake on their birthday, or, a milestone, whatever the milestone may be, especially now, you've got graduations and all kinds of big things going on, and where people are not able to get out, they can certainly get into the community. And so I don't know if anybody has any, but I did do my due diligence on it and looked at all of the angles, like I said, spoke with Downing Coil, Hotel, and this, now that all of the COVID restrictions have been lifted. And, in the community room, you say clearly that it has to be, everything has to be removed. And so if there's somebody who's their potato chips, well, that's fair game with somebody else. But the place should be left, broom swept, the way they found it. And that doesn't include using the stove or any of that.
No, because we don't have a permit.
No stove, right. Although she did say that the private patio was not required a permit.
Okay,
All right.
but I'm just saying, we do
Yeah.
not have a permit.
And I asked that question, so the private patio does not require a permit. But if we could, I don't know if we need a motion on that?
We can't do anything with this,
Because it's not on the agenda.
Okay, well, we did discuss it at last month's meeting, though.
But it has
So-
to be on the agenda.
Okay. Well, we'll put it on it. We can go on, but that's going to be for the next meeting's agenda.
we can't vote on anything that isn't on this
I
agenda.
just asked if we can make a motion to put it on the agenda for the next week.
But they don't have to vote on it.
Okay. All right, would that be okay? Yes, super, thank you. So,
Do we want to have a vote to put it on the agenda? Is that?
to vote, we
No,
just
we
need to
cannot
vote.
No,
we
we
need
need
to
to
vote.
vote on what's on,
Right,
Yes.
we're just asking that we put on next month's
Yes.
agenda.
she's asking,
Leave it at that.
don't vote on it.
All right.
Hey, just one more thing, I just wanted to thank you for having a nice discussion with Karen together yesterday, she's very knowledgeable, always. And that was wonderful, thank you, she was able to answer a lot of questions for me, I appreciate that. Also, Karen, when I spoke with her, she thought it might be a good idea that if we have any questions for the state attorney in regards to the state property, that we, as an executive committee, write the questions down and submit them directly to her. So I just wanted to let you know that was part of our discussion yesterday.
And she's a great resource
Yes.
for us. She's actually done a number of board trainings here that have been open to other housing
Yeah,
authorities.
she's pretty sharp.
We-
She's terrific.
We were a big location for that.
Mhm.
So when I spoke to her, after she spoke to you, it was like, well, okay, so maybe we can start, because of COVID, people weren't coming out.
Sure, there's a lot of things that fell by the way.
Yeah. So we might be able to get her to come back out and do board training again here, which benefits us.
That would be great. Absolutely. Is there anything that needs to be done for the community room in order for that room to be opened back up? And also, I'd like to add to the agenda as well, the door to unlock, the door that allows people to go in the bathroom, they don't have to go inside the building to get there. We talk about, keeping it safe as many people as possible. And to force people to go outside, to come back in, to go to the bathroom. I think that came up, that also came up with the last meeting. So, is that a fair statement? I'm not here, puzzled. The door, the community room, I guess, is some way to get into the bathroom from the laundry. Maybe is it the
They have
laundry?
a key.
Is it the laundry? Did we find out more about that
Yeah.
at the next meeting? Is that okay? Agenda? And that was up at, that truck.
You all set now?
Thank you.
Okay. And does anyone else have any questions or comments at this time? If not, I'd like a motion to adjourn. And please state your name and that you're making a motion to adjourn.
I'm Rose Turner, have a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chairman.
Second that motion.
Brenda Snyder, right?
All in favor?
Brenda
Oh,
Snyder,
wait a
right?
minute. I just can't let go. Sorry.
And jump the gun.
Go ahead.
Wendy Snyder, aye.
Roberta Briggs, aye.
Rose Turner, aye.
Sharon White.